Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from the Vatican. The Vatican has announced that after a very public controversy involving the use of a letter by retired Pope Benedict XVI, Pope Francis has accepted the resignation of Msgr Dario Vigano as prefect of the Vatican Secretariat for Communication. Rome Reports has more from the Vatican.
The Vatican Communication Director has resigned after he used part of a letter from Benedict XVI to promote a collection of books and censored the rest, which was critical of the work. Dario Vigano presented his resignation on Monday, and on Wednesday morning, the Pope officially accepted it. The controversy began with this photograph sent by the Vatican press office, showing favorable words by Benedict XVI, but hiding other remarks. The prefect of the Secretariat for Communication read part of the text at a press conference and did not publish it completely in the press release, which hid three things. First, that Benedict refused to prepare a theological reflection because he would not read the work. This, however, was mentioned at the press conference. The second, that the letter was a private text by Benedict XVI and was not meant to be published. The third was that the Pope Emeritus expressed his surprise for the fact that figuring among the authors is also Professor Hunerman, who during my pontificate came to light for having headed anti-papal initiatives. It was a polite way to suggest this volume be removed from the collection published by the Vatican. But it was not done. At the beginning, some media outlets complained about the Vatican's lack of transparency in publishing an incomplete text. Others were annoyed that a private letter from Benedict was used to praise a work about Pope Francis. It's surprising how quickly the Pope accepted the resignation. Francis says in his letter that it's not without some effort that he welcomes the resignation and highlights Dario Vigano's ability to confront and submit with the Curia's agencies. He also asks him to collaborate as an advisor to the Secretariat for Communication.
Vigano was appointed prefect of the Communications Secretariat in June of 2015. He has managed to unify under a single department all 9 of the communications operations of the Vatican. In news from around the world, according to speakers at a recent United Nations panel, aborting a child with a prenatal diagnosis of Down syndrome is a gross violation of human rights and can be considered genocide. Archbishop Bernardino Auza, Vatican nuncio to the United Nations, explained that despite commitments made in the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities to ensure full and equal human rights, including the right to life by all people with disabilities, so many members of the international community remain passive as the majority of those diagnosed with Down syndrome's lives are ended after prenatal screenings. In his remarks, the Archbishop cited a 2011 Harvard medical genetics study showing individuals with Down syndrome and their parents are 99% happy with their lives. According to Mary O'Callaghan, a public policy fellow at the Center for Ethics and Culture at the University of Notre Dame, the growing availability of systematic prenatal screening is associated with increased abortion rates for babies with Down syndrome in Europe, Australia, and China. In the United States, O'Callaghan said 67% of pregnancies with a Down syndrome prenatal diagnosis are aborted. The permanent observer mission of the Holy See to the United Nations co-sponsored the panel. It was held in observance of the 13th World Down Syndrome Day, which was March 21st. More news from the Vatican. Although it had been expected, it was made official this past week when Pope Francis announced at his general audience that he would be going to Dublin, Ireland from August 25th to the 26th for the World Meeting of Families. The Pope received a delegation from Ireland at the audience and blessed the Holy Family icon of the meetings.
A Dublino,
Pope Francis announced that he will attend one of the largest Catholic world events, the World Meeting of Families, which will be held this year in Dublin, Ireland.
in occasione del prossimo incontro mondiale delle famiglie, ho intenzione di recarmi a Dublino dal 25 al 26 agosto di quest'anno. Ringrazio fin d'ora le autorità civili, i vescovi, il vescovo di Dublino e tutti coloro che collaborano per preparare questo viaggio. Grazie.
The announcement was made in front of the meeting's official icon of the Holy Family, which was delivered to him during the audience. 2 Irish families were responsible for presenting it to the Pope. The Catholic Encounter takes place every 3 years, with the last one in Philadelphia, USA in 2015.
And finally in the news, Puerto Rico is still suffering 6 months after Hurricane Maria caused so much devastation on the island. But relief and recovery has been coming in the form of Catholic parishes. Parishes have rallied volunteers to distribute relief supplies and provide community and connection for the elderly and most vulnerable. In order to bolster their efforts, Catholic Extension, a papal society based in Chicago, has launched a new campaign called Patrons of Puerto Rico to help those parishes continue their spiritual and corporal works of mercy and serve their communities. Catholic Extension is inviting individual donors, parishes, and church groups to partner with them and adopt a parish. There's an interactive map on the webpage catholicextension.org/patron featuring the Catholic communities helping neighbors in Puerto Rico. According to Extension, parishes across the islands have exhausted themselves in providing material and spiritual comfort and are in great need. Puerto Rico's poverty rate is now at 52.7%, and in some mountain areas, child poverty rates exceed 80%. Well, that is all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.